Have you ever really thought about how a certain amount of cash could totally change your career? And I'm not talking about buying a fancy car or a huge house. No, I mean buying something way, way more valuable. Options. Today, we're going to dive into this really powerful idea called walking away money. We'll break down how having, say, 20 grand saved up isn't just some safety net. It's actually your ultimate career superpower.
All right, let's just paint a picture here. And I bet this is going to sound familiar to a lot of you. It's 3 in the morning. You're just staring at the ceiling, totally wide awake. Why? Because your mind is racing, just cycling through every single what if, every possible money disaster that could pop up tomorrow. It's an awful feeling, isn't it?
And what are those things we worry about? Well, it's that little check engine light that just flickered on. Or, the dread of a surprise medical bill showing up in the mail. And the big one, that terrifying thought of what would you do if your job just vanished. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, any one of those things feels less like a problem and more like a total catastrophe. And look, this anxiety, it isn't just in your head. It's backed up by some pretty shocking numbers. The Federal Reserve says the median retirement savings for all Americans is only $65,000. I mean, for millions of people, that is barely enough to cover a few years. It's a number that really shows you just how thin the financial ice is for so many of us. So what does all this add up to? It puts you in a state of constant financial defense. You're always on your back foot. Every single decision, from what you're putting in your grocery cart to whether you can even afford to go see a doctor, it all becomes this stressful, high-stakes calculation. All your mental energy gets burned up just trying to survive, not on trying to grow. But what if you could flip the script? What if you could change the game completely? This is where the whole idea for this explainer comes in. We're talking about a specific chunk of money, let's call it $20,000, that basically acts like a superpower. It's the key that lets you stop playing defense with your life and finally start playing offense. And this is what we call walking away money. It is so much more than just an emergency fund. Think of it as a strategic financial buffer that completely changes how you think about money and work. It's not just sitting there for when things go wrong, it's there to empower you to make things go right. It is, quite literally, the freedom to just say no. Yeah, and this is the perfect way to see that crucial mindset shift. See, an emergency fund, that's defensive. It's all about survival. It just sits there waiting for a disaster to happen. But walking away money, that's offensive. It's active. It's about creating opportunities. It's about thriving. So you see, it's not just a safety net, it's a launch pad. But this whole thing isn't just about the numbers in your bank account. Honestly, the biggest, most profound change, that happens inside your head. Having that financial foundation, it triggers this huge psychological shift. It moves you from that state of constant low-grade panic to a place of quiet, real power. And hey, this isn't just some feel-good pop psychology. This is science. Neuroscientists have actually found that financial security literally lowers the levels of cortisol, your body's main stress hormone. So building up this fund doesn't just make you feel less stressed, it actually changes your body's chemistry. And that allows you to think more clearly and, you guessed it, make much better decisions. So just think for a second what this means in the real world. Okay, without that money buffer, that check engine light feels like a ticking time bomb, a countdown to financial disaster. But with your walking away money, it's just an annoyance. It's a hassle, sure, but it's a problem you can solve, not a crisis you have to endure. That shift from panic to problem solving, it frees up an unbelievable amount of mental space. Let's talk about the before state for a minute. Without that financial cushion, every single potential change, we're talking a new job, moving to a new city, even investing in a new skill, it all feels incredibly dangerous. Like one wrong move could torpedo your life for months, maybe even years. So what do? You stay put. You avoid risk at all costs. But then there's the after. Once you have that $20,000 foundation, you've basically given yourself permission to think beyond just making it to the next paycheck. Your mind is suddenly free to think about growth, to hunt for opportunities, and to actually plan for a future that you design instead of just reacting to one that just happens to you. Okay, so you're less stressed, you're thinking more clearly. That's great. But how does that actually turn into a career superpower? Well, this is the magic part. This is where that internal confidence you've been building starts to create real, tangible results in your professional life. This is exactly where the power shows up. Suddenly, you can walk into a salary negotiation knowing you can afford to say no if the offer isn't good enough.
You finally have the breathing room to quit that toxic, soul-crushing job, even without another one lined up. You can invest in that course or that certification that you know will boost your income down the road. You can actually say no to that awful project your boss tries to dump on you. The bottom line is, you have leverage. And here's the crucial point. That confidence isn't just a feeling. It becomes a real, tangible asset. When the person on the other side of the table, whether it's for a raise, a new job, a freelance gig, when they sense that you don't need the deal to survive, the entire dynamic just shifts in your favor. The ability to genuinely, truly walk away, that is the ultimate bargaining chip. Okay, so this all sounds amazing, right? But how do you actually get there? 20 grand can feel like a mountain to climb. But the good news is, the path to building this foundation is actually way simpler than you might think. It's not about some complex financial wizardry. It's really just about focus. So here's the strategy, and it breaks down into two really simple but powerful steps. Okay, step one, you've got to plug the leaks. That means stop buying stuff that just drains your bank account without adding any real value to your life. And step two, you have to make building this $20,000 foundation your top priority, above almost every other financial goal. All right, let's dig into step one, plugging those leaks. Where does all the money actually go? Well, for most people, it just vanishes into a few key areas. We're talking about overpriced food delivery and daily coffees that add up to a small fortune over time, or that new car that loses, 20% of its value the second you drive it off the lot? How about all those streaming services and that gym membership you never use? And oh yeah, the big one, status spending. Buying stuff just to try and impress people. And now for step two. And this part is absolutely critical. The financial order of operations. Just look what's at the very top of the list. Priority number one is building your walking away money. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Shouldn't you throw every spare penny at high-interest debt first? But the logic here is different. Without a cash buffer, what happens when the next emergency hits? You're forced right back into debt. This foundation is what breaks that cycle. It creates a stable platform so that then you can go attack debt and start investing for the long haul. So I'm going to leave you with a question to really think about. If you had that $20,000 sitting in your bank account right now, today, what would you change? What bad deal would you finally say no to? What toxic situation, a job, a relationship, anything, would you just walk away from? Really thinking about that and answering it for yourself? Well, that's the first step to actually making it happen.